Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new show. Hopefully, I can get this working. As you can tell, the background here is not the normal background of my apartment, and hopefully, you guys will be able to enjoy today's show. I'm currently working on my laptop right now, which looks like this. So, that's the reason why the cast is a little wonky today. I don't have my normal setup because I am at my parents' house. All right, so we got the chat up and running. Yeah, welcome everyone. I'm a little out of sorts today, and the camera is like really, really close, different lens, lighting is all weird. Um, but yeah, we'll see how many of you guys are going to join the chat today. So far, we have 19 viewers. And today's show is going to be about the new year. Not exactly a new year, but we have Chinese New Year, which is a holiday celebrated by my family every year. And it typically lands on the day of somewhere near the end of January and somewhere in the middle of February. So it changes every year. Even I can't predict when the New Year's is coming because often I don't know. You have to look at the Chinese calendar to figure out when the day is. All right. So let me see what is actually being casted here. Okay. You know, it's a real struggle trying to work with a very small screen. Normally, when I'm at home, I have this 4K monitor that's 40 inches, which means I can put all the streaming stuff in one section of the monitor. And right now, I'm just working on this laptop guy right here, which makes it quite a struggle to get everything on the screen and also respond to everything that's on the chat boxes. But I'm going to try to make it work today because the secret to having a good streaming channel is to never give up given the limited set of tools that you have at hand. And that's a good lesson to have to learn through life. Just try to persevere with the limited set of things that you can work with. So today, I guess we'll just get started. Let me just see what's in the chat here. All right. So what's in the chat? Let me get the chat window open. Okay. So we have 37 people, or 37 YouTube viewers on the channel watching right now. Let me toss a little tweet message on Twitter just to let everyone know. Live stream happening now on YouTube. Happy New Year's. So, okay, live stream. Don't really have the link to the live stream, but that should be okay. Okay, let's see. What do we have here? All right, we have Ivan, we have Cesar, we have Balaji, Galav. We have Mr. Abdikardir, Abdullah. We have Eric Kruberlik. We have Juan. We have Himant, Cesar. And let's see. Sudhir, Anand, Vignesh, Antonio, Alexander. Hello, Alexander. Hope you're enjoying that course. I don't know if you finished that Kindle course yet. Yeah, so all right. Miguel from Peru. Jean-Louis, Luke Roberts from UK. All right. What else is here? Okay. Hello from Armenia. All right. Looking at your usual room, I can see that the paintings are signed by BV. Yeah, that painting that's on my wall in uh, my apartment. That was something that you can. What do you call those painting events? But you can go to these events where you paint on an easel. There's like some instructor telling you how to paint this scenery, and then you get a bunch of paintbrushes. You paint it on this little easel canvas, and then you get to take it home at the end of the event. I think it's pretty fun. Costs about $30, and then you get to take your painting home, hang it on your wall, and yeah. Oh man, what is going on today? What is going on today? How long are you going to stream for? We got someone from Myanmar. Is that Thailand? Or is that a separate country itself? Oh, Americans are so bad at geography. All right, so I want to answer this question right here real fast from Siukus. Probably butchering your name. But he's saying, hello, I've just finished your Kindle course from your website. I was wondering if you plan to add more videos to that course. Yeah, there's going to be like probably 1 or 2 additional videos to that course. And it's going to include how to stylize the entire list and also that bottom bar at the very edge of the screen, which will contain like a couple of different UI components. And there won't be any new functionality added to that bottom bar, but just showing you guys how to include that bar will be a pretty good lesson. So, the past couple of days I've been home because of Chinese New Year, trying to celebrate everything with the family, and just haven't had the time to release those videos, to record them, rather. But I'll let you guys know what those videos will look like when they come out. Okay, next question. We got Jose Fonte from Portugal. Very cool. Kahinde from Nigeria. All right. I think you've been on the channel for quite a bit of time. All right, so we have this question here. Brian, how many languages do you speak? So I don't speak too many languages. There's obviously English, and then there's obviously, I guess not so obvious, but I do speak Chinese, and I speak 3 dialects of Chinese, which is not, I guess it's not too typical if you were raised outside of the States. But quite a few people speak at least 2 dialects of Chinese when they're in America or just in general in China. There's the main Mandarin dialect, which I learned how to speak like 10 years ago. And there's a Cantonese dialect, and then there's this different other Vietnamese, Chinese dialect that I also speak. So there you go. 2 languages, a couple of dialects in Chinese. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the very first question of the day here. Now that I have a couple of you guys in the channel or in the room, and let's talk about Chinese New Year. Yeah, let's talk about Chinese New Year, huh? Okay. So, what it means to, I guess so every year there's a zodiac sign in that Chinese calendar wheel thing, whatever you call it. And today, or this year, is the year of the chicken, rooster, hen, and this other word, which makes the sound of cock-a-doodle-doo. And now, what you often see as the zodiac sign is this rooster. And so I was trying to look at what the year of the rooster means in terms of horoscope. And, some things like good fortune and bad fortune. So the thing I found online on this website that I should be showing you guys, but the website says the horoscope for the year of the rooster will be a powerful one with no middle of the road when it comes to moving forward. This year, impressions count. So impressions, for example, meeting someone new, you want to make sure you give off your best first impression. If you're making videos, perhaps you want to give off a good impression as well. And impressions also means how many counts or view counts you have on your videos. So that's also important. You'll want to look your best and be clear on your intentions concerning love, money, and business. Stick to practical and well-proven paths to ensure success rather than risky ventures. Ah. So it sounds like the year of the chicken or the year of the rooster means to be very practical and try not to stray too far from the common path taken, because if you stray too much, you might run into different roadblocks that you won't be able to tackle. But I don't really like this advice. I think taking a risk is a very important thing in life in general. Being able to know how much you can handle is something that you won't learn until you run into these specific problem sets that you probably can't take on the very first time. And that's an important lesson to learn in life. Okay, so that is the good side of the year of the rooster. There are a couple of things that you do have to watch out for, which is to stay safe, try not to do any bad things. All right. The next question in the chat. What do we have here? Okay, we have Antonio Di Francisco. It says, Brian, any chance you have a Let's Build Instagram tutorial where we see how to handle the camera, microphone, recording, and these media things? So the plan for the website is to include a couple of more advanced courses. And when I say advanced, I mean something that's not basic, right? So I was planning on releasing a couple of, definitely releasing an Instagram course where we are going to talk about video capture, image capturing, perhaps audio capturing with the cell phone's microphone, and how to put everything onto a database such as Firebase, so that you can sync the data and make sure it loads from an external source. You notice that a lot of the tutorials on my channel currently, they don't really, or I guess some of them do load dynamic content, but I think it's a lot of fun if you can load things that are external, for example, a JSON source or some kind of Firebase source. So yeah, I do plan on releasing an Instagram course. I don't think it'll be on the channel though. Yeah, so look forward to that. There's a lot of stuff coming on the channel for the month of February that I want to put out. So we'll see where we get to by the end of February. All right, so we have Josh Gallagher. I'm doing a CS degree, but I don't like it. I am a good programmer. Can I make it in the industry without it? Happy Chinese New Year. Happy New Year to you too, Josh. I think the whole debate about whether or not going to college is useful, it's still an ongoing debate. I personally don't really like college a whole lot. I'm a pretty strong advocate against college these days. And most people that have been in the industry for like 10 years or so are somewhat against college. And the reason is because the more experience you have, the less you rely on things that you've learned in college. And in the real world, what's more important is that you have, like, for example, good work ethic and consistency, and being productive to the company are very, very like different things that you learn in the business world that you don't learn at all in college. But at the same time, having the knowledge that comes with the degree that you get in college, for example, learning how to write algorithms to solve, binary searching, do a tree traversal on a graph, perhaps write a linked list, which is something that you'll never learn in the real world. Those are the things that are important to certain people when they interview you. Now, whether or not you use those techniques, algorithms, and all that theory, whether or not you use that in the real world is a different story. So, for example, when you're going into the interview room, they're going to ask you, how do I parse this piece of string efficiently, and what is the efficiency of the program that you just wrote? If you can't answer those questions, you're gonna fail maybe like 70% of the interviews just based on those questions. It's that's that. If you can answer those questions without college, I say go ahead and do it the next 4 years that you waste in college. You'll be able to do a lot more and pick up on a lot of additional skills that in college, you waste a lot of time taking like philosophy courses and things like that. Okay, let's see. Next question. All right, so we have Jose Fonte. I don't know if you already answered. Were you born in the USA? Yeah, so born in Sacramento, California, which is the capital of California. Most people don't know this. There's no reason to know that, actually. I've been living in California for my entire life. Have some family in the UK. So a little backstory on my family is my mom and dad immigrated to the United States from Vietnam, like in the 80s. So they came here in like 1979 or 1980. And before they got out of Vietnam, they went to a little small section of Hong Kong where they were taking refugees. And then they stayed there for like 2 years until the United States decided to open their doors to the Vietnamese refugees. And when that news was received from my mom and dad and a lot of other folks in that same camp, they all decided to leave to the United States. But at the same time, my mom's side of the family, they all went to the UK, and now I have a ton of cousins that live in the UK, which is pretty nice. Which really means that I can vacation to the UK, and I have a lot of friends and family to visit, and they'll show you the sights, give you a tour. And it's great to have a lot of friends and family around the world. Other countries I've been to are like France, Hong Kong, Taiwan. Haven't been to China yet. Haven't been to Vietnam, which I really should check out. But yeah, enough about me. Okay. So we have Patel. Or let's answer this fun question here first. Do they eat chicken? Yes, we do eat chicken. Is there a culture that doesn't eat chicken? What happened to the chicken? Why is the chicken an animal that's not being protected by any of these cultures? I haven't really heard of a culture that preserves the chicken. You hear, some cultures don't eat the pig or don't eat the cow, but the chicken is just a free-for-all type of animal that we all can sink our teeth into. All right, so Patel, hi. I just started to watch your YouTube demo with programmatically storyboard. I am working as iOS developer. Mostly requirement from company is making app in storyboard. Yeah, that's pretty typical that a company requires you to program with a storyboard. And it really depends on who the architect is. What you'll find is that a lot of the companies in the US, I can only speak for the US, but if you're a very small startup, then you can do whatever the heck you want. If you are a part of a larger organization such as YouTube or Spotify or, Twitter, right? These companies have a ton of engineers working on a code base. And typically those code bases will just be in pure programmatic code. I think I mentioned this in this previous video, but I have a friend that works at YouTube, and he tried to open up the YouTube source code, and he was a graduate from my San Francisco boot camp. And he was looking for the storyboards to figure out how the the code base works, and he wasn't able to find any storyboards. because the YouTube engineers, they don't really use storyboards. So that's what it looks like in a big corporation with professional coders that code day in and day out. I'm not saying storyboards are bad, but if you look at code 8 hours a day, you don't really want to look at the storyboard because it's a little slow. It's not as efficient. But that's how it works with coding. If you're a good coder, you like to look at code. Have you worked on any OS X Cocoa projects, and is it worth to learn Cocoa for iOS developer? So I often get these questions a lot where people are asking, is it worth it to learn X, Y, and Z? What is there to lose by picking up something else? You lose a little bit of time, but you gain a lot in knowledge. What you'll often learn is that when you pick up a different language, you're able to appreciate the other languages that you know a lot more. So for example, if you know Swift right now, and you for some reason decided to learn Java, you're going to really appreciate Swift because of the amount of typing that is involved in Java is just too much. So it's like learning anything else. There's only a benefit to being able to learn more things. Okay, always interesting to know about different cultures. We are all different, yet we are all the same. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Being closed off to other cultures, being closed off to other people coming into your environment, I think is terribly unhealthy. So I do not support anyone that is trying to close off any type of borders. But at the same time, you have people that are afraid of things that happen because other cultures do have people that are not so great, just like how we have people that are not so great. And that's the problem with just people in general. Not everyone is of the same mindset. Okay. Have you ever jailbroken or considered creating tweaks for jailbreaks? I haven't ever jailbroken a phone before. I've rooted a couple of Android phones, but that's the extent of tampering with devices. Okay. Yes, Happy New Year, everyone. Okay, Peter Schaffelschneer. Sounds like a perhaps German name. Now, as you are working as an independent developer, how are you going to get projects? So one thing that's important about being independent is to somehow get your name out there in the developer world. Having this YouTube channel has helps me get some clients. Not a whole lot, but a couple of very important clients that have helped me out. Another thing that really helps out is that I have this one-on-one mentoring program that I have on this website called Savvy. And every now and then I'll open up some hours of my schedule, just a couple of hours here and there. And, I get paid on the 1 hour, which is nice so that I can keep pushing out these videos. And also right now I have a lot of savings, so I'm not really too worried about the whole money thing just yet. But it is always in the back of my mind. Okay, let's move on to the next question here, which is not from the chat, but let's click on this little menu item here. What is the importance of good work ethic, especially as a programmer? Right, so let me just read this off here. I think work ethic is the most important when you have sort of no motivation to be productive or creative on whatever you're working on. So we've all hit a wall before, and what keeps me going is the kind of level of consistency that I'm trying to go for and trying to maintain a really good schedule that enables me to stay consistent. For example, releasing one video a day has been my commitment for 2017. Just one video a day, right? Some of you guys are probably saying, oh, wow, just one video a day is not that hard. Yeah, one video a day is not that hard, right? So I'm thinking to myself, yeah, it's not that hard. But there's something about recording a video and just speaking in front of a camera that's stressful for me for some reason. which I don't think I was meant to put out videos. Maybe that's why it's difficult for me. So far in the year of 2017, I think I've missed a lot of Saturdays for my my one video per day schedule. And Saturday is kind of the day that I choose to take off. If I don't take one day off, I'm not going to be putting out good content. That's what I feel. But committing to this one day or one video a day schedule has allowed me to be the most productive that I've been for a long, long time. So for the last year, right, my work ethic wasn't as consistent. And basically, I released like maybe one video a week or one video every 2 weeks on average. And there were long stretches where I released one video per day for like 4 or 5 days straight. But yeah, just trying to keep a consistency level that is maintainable for a long time is it's difficult, but if you have the willpower to get yourself to this level, you're going to find it to be very beneficial, and in terms of being productive for a long, long time, that's kind of what you need. There's really no room to slack off or give up. It's a bit of a grind as well. So that's my message on having a good work ethic. Like, for example, if you're a college student, right, which I know a lot of you guys are, being persistent and staying on task, especially with all your courses, class after class after class. You have your exams coming up, your midterms, projects that you have to finish on this date. School is tough, and if you don't have good work ethic, you can't get through all of your courses. And hopefully being able to build that good work ethic during those 4 to 5 years in college, that's going to hopefully be able to help you out in terms of getting success in the real world. Yeah, long-winded answer, but that's how I feel. So let's see. Okay, back to the chat here. Mark W, dude, you're from Sacramento. Same here. I went to UCB after. Cool. So I grew up in West Sacramento, near Elder Creek and Stockton Boulevard, which is this cross section. And I also went to UC Berkeley afterwards, and I graduated about 9-10 years ago, roughly. Okay. Would you ever consider doing a series where you consume your own API? All right, Josh. Own API, for example, I have an API built for a PHP for a form. Would you ever do something like that and consume it with an iOS app? So basically, that is what I intended this channel to be in the very beginning of 2016. And the channel kind of grew in its own direction for the longest time. And I really want to be able to provide you guys with a really, really detailed and solid API to build a very, very fancy application. Now, what that application is, I'm not quite sure yet, but it's going to be something that I release on this channel so that everyone can get a taste of what it means to have a sophisticated amount of data coming into the phone, and to make it look and feel like a real application that you download from a big name from the App Store. So that's my goal for 2017. Wasn't able to do it in 2016 because just getting used to this whole YouTube interaction with you guys, answering the comments, putting out the videos online, building out the website so that I can, get people to go on there to download the source code, and getting rid of WordPress, which is a horrible platform for anyone that wants to do anything serious. Doing all that, integrating payments on the website, all taken care of right now. So this means I have more time to dedicate to what I originally intended. Antonio, girlfriend asked the same thing about chickens. Yeah, chickens. Poor chicken. Okay, we have Florin. I don't really know how to pronounce this down symbol accent on this. In Chinese, it would just be like Florica. What experiences do you have out of iOS development? So outside of iOS development, I worked in UI with like HTML, Flash. There's Java, which is server programming, building servlets and building this payment system using Java. And then um, there's like server programming with Google Go. There's Rails. There's Android. There's what else is there? React, JS. My website runs off React. There's iOS, obviously. There's what else is there? There's Photoshop. There's Adobe Premiere. There's recording these live streams, being able to get the audio in and editing every one of these clips into something that is presentable at least. There's a lot of things that goes into doing something like this, which is not very well known. How valuable is to go work to a company that uses Objective-C versus Swift? What do you think Objective-C's future is? So I think Objective-C is going to be slowly phased out as we move on or move forward. One thing that Objective-C still has over Swift right now is the ability to create frameworks that you can export into directly into Swift as a framework. So right now you can't really build a framework using the Swift tools. And the reason is because you can't obfuscate, or you can't put the framework into a binary that you can't look at. Like the source code is exposed right now is a problem with Swift, and with Swift 4, hopefully we are going to get true compatibility of these frameworks. So that's what I'm looking forward to in terms of Swift 4. Okay, one last question. What do you personally think is more valuable for someone learning iOS? Unpaid internship at a startup or paid internship at a government job? If you don't care about the money, I would take the startup job, which is unpaid. If you do need the money, I would take the government job. The reason is because if the startup is something that, if their technology, the startup technology is something that's interesting and something that you'll learn a lot from, you will get the amount of value that you get out of the startup is a lot more than the boring government job, if the government job is boring. If you're building drones for the government, go for the government job, okay? So heavily dependent on how interesting the technology is. The amount of money doesn't really matter right now. I mean, just take out a loan or something. Easy for me to say, right? How come in this live video the sound is not synced to your voice? I think because the bandwidth of the internet at my house in Sacramento is not as great. Okay, like your videos, enjoy it. Come up with more series. Yeah, thanks for advice on programming storyboard. As a beginner, I find it difficult to follow along your tutorials. Yeah, I'm gonna say that this channel, the tutorials on this channel, they are meant for beginners. But then, as a beginner, you're going to have to be a little bit quicker in terms of programming. A lot of people watch the videos and then they constantly just rewind, and then they watch it and they rewind and then they watch it again and then they follow along. The good thing about these tutorials is that it's all just separated into chunks. You write some code, you type it out, you run it, you get something on the screen. You do that over and over until you have something really, really nice. You can't say the same thing about storyboard, because you start dragging things in the storyboard and then you really lose context as to what's going on. Okay, that's enough I'm going to say about storyboards. Hello from Mexico. You are the best. Thank you, Aaron. We have Jerome Chan. Happy Chinese New Year. Happy Chinese New Year to everyone out there. Hello from Sweden. From Stitch. Recovering from food coma, making a video is hard. Yeah. Casey Neistat's advice is never stop uploading. That is good. That's easier said than done, but at the same time, it's not difficult if you just maintain a schedule of preparing the content for the next day and then record, prepare, record, prepare. And that's how it's done. So Casey does a fabulous job at it. Do you work at a firm right now? How much money do you make yearly? So I do not work in a firm right now. The amount of money I make yearly is nowhere near what full-time is. But having worked all those years full-time, I have enough so that I can build out this YouTube channel to what I want it to look like within a couple of years, which is nice, you know. With enough savings, what you really want to do in life is to build something that is commonly referred to as assets. If you don't have assets that help you generate money, you're going to find yourself working your entire life for someone else. And the saying is, you don't want to build the bricks for someone else's empire. You want to lay the bricks for your own empire. So that's the advice that a lot of entrepreneurs will give you. Thanks for that. As I explained how to write applications, if you are not difficult in one of your classes, to make the app in which it was possible to use a compass. I don't really know how to use a compass, unfortunately. Just release one video a day on the weekdays and do a live stream on the weekends. From Jack. Nyai. That's a difficult last name to pronounce. Just release one video a day. That's a really good schedule to follow. I'm trying to do that, once a day. As you can see or a lot of you guys probably know, the frequency has increased for the channel. And what I'm also trying to do is release other videos on my website, which is going to mean like 2 videos a day at least, which is good. Okay. I was at CES Fair this year. What do you think about robotic world, auto-driving cars, and IoT? Well, I don't follow the IoT stuff too much, and the robotic cars and all that. I don't really follow that a whole lot. Yeah. Hi from Ukraine. We all know that usually if you want a significant salary raise, you need to change the company. So what's the minimum period of? Good question. What is the minimum? What's the minimum period to work in the first company before you change it? So that's a really good question. The very first company that you work at, you should work there for at least 1.5 to 3 years, probably. Yeah. So I worked at my first company for like 2 years, and then I went on to a real programming job. So the thing about the first job is that you don't really know what you're missing or what you're giving up when you leave for your next job. So it's good to have been there for at least a year or two. And the thing about salary is that if you're at a job that pays you not enough, or in other words, they're not paying you what you are worth, then you should probably find something better that can at the same time advance your career and will pay you what you are worth. So that's the way I see it. Okay. Yes, in the US, it's usually 1 year. Okay, we have, let's see, from Iman. When next premium video will be released and what kind of apps will you build? So I think we'll get an Instagram app on the website, which is going to be for purchase in maybe a week or two. The way the courses are released on the website is probably going to be the first 10 episodes are going to be up, and then I'll record the rest as I get the time to do so. Let's see. We have Mark W again. I saw, I'm near the pocket area in Sacramento. Nice to hear. We'll continue watching your lessons. Great stuff. Cool. Ever consider having your own startup? For the most part, this YouTube channel is my attempt at a startup. I'm doing what like 5 people are supposed to do at the same time for this channel, which is interesting and fun in its own way. We have Juan Gill. Do you think it's better to learn Android, or is it enough to know? Just getting messages from the phones. Sorry for the distraction, guys. And lastly, clients will want the apps developed on both platforms. Is Android winning as the main platform? What you find is that in the United States, developing iOS apps is probably more lucrative in terms of getting paid. And then outside the US, I think Android is a little bit more popular. So it just really depends on where you're located. I don't think it hurts to learn how to do both if you have the time to do so. Have you tried React Native, and what's your general opinion about non-native ways to develop mobile apps? React Native is a new concept. I've gone through the tutorial a couple of times. It makes sense. I use React for the web, so for the web it's good. So I assume it's going to be good for mobile platform as well. Let's see. Do you take the same approach to Android Java dev with regards to GUI program, or do you use the designer? So that's a very good question. Basically, there's the equivalent. I wouldn't say the equivalent of a storyboard for Android, but there's an XML layout that you can design out your screens for your Android pages. And I do use that XML editor. And the reason is because the XML editor is code that you can look at and read as a human being. I can't read the storyboard code, which is why I don't use it. And the way layouts work in the Android XML world is a lot easier to work with in terms of like maybe auto layout, right? You won't really understand this until you've programmed an Android app. It's actually easier to use the XML editor to lay things out. So I use the visual. It's not even a visual editor. You still write a lot of code to lay out the XML. All right, so we have Nian Liu, Liu Nian, or Nian Liu. Do you use WeChat? I do use WeChat. If you want to chat on WeChat, perhaps we can. Okay, we call you Brain now. That's how it works. 新年快乐. Yes. 新年快乐. We have this interesting word here. How often do you get called Brain instead of Brian? Quite often. It seems to have decreased from that last video where I was kind of referring to that. I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but editing was very hard, so I quit. Well, you cannot quit every time something's hard. You'll find yourself quitting everything in life if you just follow that pattern. Do you plan to share a video about iOS project architects, for example, Viper? So I forgot what Viper stood for. View, injection, pipeline, something. So I find the typical MVC approach just works for 95% of projects, and that's what I typically use. Are you going to go over portfolio development? Probably not. You pronounce my last name correct. Thank you, Mr. Ngai. Yeah, so the dialect that I speak in Vietnamese is actually Ngai, so that's a fun coincidence. Happy Chinese New Year, yeah. When do you know you have reached a level above your pay grade? You know when you feel like you have. So, for example, you're gonna get projects that you have done, that you've programmed before, and if you find yourself programming the same thing for like every project, then you know you've reached the level where you should be doing something else. All right. What was the first language you learned? I guess spoken language is probably maybe English or Chinese, one of the two. I obviously don't know, because I think my parents taught me Chinese and my brothers and sisters spoke English. I have no idea. In terms of programming languages, the first thing I learned was ActionScript 2.0, and I built something like a keyboard DDR game where you hit like things fly up here, right? Then you hit the key when you have a character here, and you just hit the keys. That's how that worked. I might be able to show you guys that game if I can get my hands on the source code and also the ActionScript 2 compiler. Very difficult. Will you ever branch out into doing Apple TV apps on this channel? I'm going to say 95% no, because not a lot of people have Apple TV apps. But never say never. I mean, the thing I want to do is like work on an iPad app for you guys, just to show you, just to show how the layout would work for an iPad. But I don't know how many of you guys would want an iPad tutorial. It's also hard to put on the screen for recording because the simulator is so freaking huge. Yeah, how do I how do I do like clone myself so I can record more videos is the problem I'm trying to face right now. Let's see, dude, Jonathan Arkeel. Your videos are incredibly instructive and helpful for so many of us newbies out here on the interwebs. Your tutorials are making a real difference, and I hope you keep up the awesome work. Yeah, I'm just really glad everyone's learning, right? The main focus for this channel is for people that don't have the opportunity to learn how to be a programmer. They get this opportunity to pretty much sit next to me as I'm coding, right? Obviously, I'm coding a lot slower than what I would do normally on a real job. But the feeling that you get when you sit next to someone and you're just watching them code as they type out each and every character, that is something that's super important. And that's what you do when you have your very first job in like an internship or a software development program. You're pretty much sitting next to your mentor and you're watching him as he goes through his logic in building out this specific feature. So yeah, being able to have that online, like through this channel, is super helpful. That's why I think you don't want to go the programming, the storyboard approach, because you lose out a lot when you use that visual editor. What do you think about MVVM for iOS and why use it? MVVM is sort of the reactive approach, which is really, really helpful if you know how to work with it. Hugs from Brazil. Thanks for all the tutorials. Do a project with collection view. Don't make the application too heavy. Well, I think most of the apps are using a collection view, right? Or does a project with collection view? Wait, yeah. I mean, yeah. Anyhow, before doing iOS Bootcamp, I tried React Native. I don't see the hype. So React Native is good if you want to compile your code into an Android app, iOS app, and whatever the heck they're going to come up with next. So that's kind of the hype. React on web is good. It's really good. The website that you guys download the source code on, the letsbuildthatApp.com website, I wouldn't have been able to construct the whole thing without React.js. The main reason is because I really hated working with React or working with JavaScript and HTML and CSS, and the ability to make every object that you see on the website a view object in code. That's what really motivates me to build out that page. All right, we got Magic. How much should I be paid for developing a multimedia library, which looks like the App Store? You should be paid how much that program is worth. So it's a hard question to answer. So to read a quote recently: employees make money while entrepreneurs build wealth. Yeah, I think the new thing today, or maybe it's just because I'm in this entrepreneur field right now, is that a lot of people are kind of figuring out that you don't really want to work for a employer if you can work for yourself, which takes a different person to sort of break out of that rat race lifestyle where you have your bills, you work for someone so that you can pay those bills, and then that cycle sort of perpetuates until you die and you're in a graveyard, which is a sad state of affairs. Okay. What's your take on Upwork Freelancer? Do you have any experiences with freelancing websites? No, I've never really worked for a freelance website like that. The pay is just too low for the amount of time that I have to spend on projects. That's the reason why. Pay is too low for me, obviously first world problems here. Will you consider creating a course, build a custom REST API, integrate with next Instagram apps, maybe using Node.js or Golang? So I want to build out the Twitter API stack with Node.js. We'll see where we go or how far we get with that. Do you factor out collection view data source into a separate class? So in the LBTA components framework, the data source is usually the thing that populates the collection view, and it's just like home data source or tweets data source, user data source, and then that's its own class. So that's how the MVC approach is used. We have one model that populates the view, and having that is easiest way in terms of maintaining your code. MVC is all about maintaining your code. MVVM is also the same thing. If you have a certain pattern that you follow, it makes it so that someone else coming in will be able to also read your code and follow the logic. So let's see. I started out knowing nothing about Swift, but your videos have helped me a lot. I made an app because of your videos. Alex and Liu is my WeChat ID. Let me just search for Mr. Liu here. Liu. So WeChat looks like that for anyone that hasn't used WeChat before. How do I search for people here? Let's see. Add contacts. Let's see. Alex and Liu. Okay, searching, and we have, okay, so friend verification. Anyone else that wants me to join their WeChat, speak now, or forever hold your peace. Okay, so we have Alex and I, so this is what WeChat looks like. We focus here. It's probably not able to focus. The one thing that's bad about this GH4 camera is that it doesn't focus very well. But other than that, I wouldn't be able to do everything on another camera. I have a Canon T5i, which is at home, but the battery life on that thing sucks so hard that it makes it hard to record these videos. Are you the Michael Jordan in your developer team? So this question is a funny question, and what you'll find in every facet of life and every type of skill, right? You'll have people that are really good, and you'll have people in the middle, and then you have dead weight at the bottom that everyone knows who the dead weight of the team is. So depending on where you are, in some cases I found myself being the dead weight, and in some cases I found myself being at the very top. So that's kind of how it is in life. So we have Jay Zeno, storyboards are the best. Storyboards are really good. Like I was mentioning in this other video, I used storyboards for like a year, and it helped us launch the application onto the App Store. It was only after the application was on the App Store, and then we had to introduce new features, and then we had to copy a lot of other features from previous screens into other screens. Doing that with the storyboard was just too painful, because I was just copying everything into another storyboard, and very like hard to maintain. So you start to move on to things that make your life a little bit easier. So Michael Cube, why do you use frames instead of constraints when working with animations? So the reason I use frames is because the constraints that you have to animate with, changing the constant value on those guys while you're performing the animation sometimes doesn't work all that great. But when I have to do like perfect when I have to work with animations that are supporting landscape and portrait, I do go with constraint style animations instead. So yeah, Manny, happy Chinese New Year. Would you please do a video on MVVM? Wow, this is a very, very commonly requested thing, isn't it? I mean, MVVM is not that difficult. It's just some kind of reactive uh, style, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about it in too simple of terms. Okay, did you hear about web frameworks like Vapor? What do you think about that? So Vapor is that Swift server-side framework. Is that what you'll call it? Basically building out a server-side uh, uh, API, I guess, using Swift. Yeah. So what do I think about Vapor? I think if it's able to catch um, some what do you call it, momentum in terms of the community accepting it as a good enough solution to a server-side problem, then yeah, this means that as Swift iOS developers, Swift Cocoa, Touch, Mac OS developers, you don't have to learn yet another tool to build out a server. But the unfortunate thing is that because we have things such as Rails, PHP, Go, Java, all these things have already solved the server-side problem, which means those mature solutions are going to be a little bit further along. Okay. Have you mentored someone and found something poorly coded and tried to kill yourself? Yes, very often. The thing that really, really gets you is that some programmers have really never learned how to program maintainable code, is probably how I would put it. And when you try to fix the code that's commonly referred to as spaghetti code, and if someone's not really understanding what spaghetti code is, you kind of want to kill yourself. Have you had to build any map-centric apps in the past along the likes of Yelp, Uber, and Foursquare? I'm trying to build out something that represents Yelp for you guys. Hopefully I can get a Yelp tutorial out. I really like the Maps API. All right, Tanzania. Okay. So I wrote a chat app using Firebase, but with completely different logic. If you have some time, please check out GitHub. Perhaps someday. Happy New Year. Hey, Crab. Glad to have you join here. So, Worldly, Happy New Year. When do I know if I'm really good at iOS development? When you don't have to ask this question anymore. Can you please do a demo for Firebase users, relationships like following, unfollowing, block, and groups? I think the chat program that I built out, that Firebase Game of Thrones chat app, is good enough for most people to kind of work off that logic. I think being able to build out those message associations with each one of these users is something that you should be able to just translate into some other piece of business logic. Uh, 这个你可以不读出来。Okay. Let's see. Even if I read this, I don't think most people will understand it, right? So, let's see. 你之前说之后想成立自己的公司，我现在在策划一个商业计划，你有没有兴趣听一下？Depends really. 现在呢，可能就大概没有那么多时间，所以呢，可能要我帮你来写的话呢，我就没那个能力啦。Alright, so Firebase is a kind of new, and I have searched over Stack Overflow about these relationships, but I have not found any. Yeah. Um, Firebase is all about being able to be be creative with your solution. So if you can find a way to associate relationships with other objects inside of Firebase, uh, like 99% of things are possible. You just have to be creative about it. Okay, so let's see. Did I get a message from Mr. Alex? Let's see. Okay, nope. So moving on to the very last question here that I want to get through before we close off today's live stream. Let's talk about defining your own success. So what do I have here? All right. Don't model your success by following how others have been successful. For example, this channel, right? Whether or not you consider it to be success or something that you strive for, everything that went into building out this channel has been sort of what I've gone through. If you're listening to someone like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, maybe Jack Ma of Alibaba, everything that they've done to achieve their current level of success is just their own story. What you don't know is the hours and hours every day that they've stressed out about making it, making it their dreams big and turn into reality. So make sure that you're building off your own story and not someone else's. So your road to success will be unique and will be filled with a ton of your own interesting stories. Make sure to keep a list of goals that you want to achieve and try to constantly update them to match new targets. So what that really means is, have a list of things that you need to get done by end of this week, end of this month. By the time May comes around, you want to have a bunch of these items crossed off your list. So if you are not crossing these things off your list often enough, this means that you're setting goals that are too unattainable, like too far beyond your reach. And if you do that too often in life, you'll find yourself not getting anything done. So the way that I set out, goals in my near future is to just do the simplest things that I can now and get those things done and get them out of the way. And once I can do that, I'll move on to the next set of tasks, goals, or just whatever. And you just keep doing this until you get things done. If you keep following this pattern, you'll be much more successful at, learning a new language, learning how to do things in life a little bit better. So try not to demand too much of yourself in the very beginning, and just try to be good at what you can do right now. And as you pick up more and more momentum as you move along or move forward, you'll be in a better shape to accomplish your tasks. All right. Back to the chat. What do you miss about not working full-time at a company? Steady pay, not having to think about what you need to do the next day, insurance, free lunches, game room, friends that you can talk to at work, other engineers that will help you out with your problems, and not having to worry about equipment that you have to buy. Company will pay for your education if you need it in any area. Books that you will have to buy if you need books. What else is good about full time? Someone will always kind of give you a round of applause for finishing a feature. And inside of the entrepreneurial world, the only one that will give you kudos is perhaps yourself. Okay. Any core data? Let's see. Any core data with SQLite tutorials coming? And did you make the other channel you were thinking about doing? So I haven't really built anything else other than this channel. Coordinated SQLite, probably not, but we'll see. So Michael, you should follow that Facebook Messenger playlist. There's a lot about core data in that playlist if you haven't followed it already. Maps question keeps coming up, bruh. It's not going away. Yeah, so it seems like MVV and then maps and Node.js right here. Well, according to you, what's a good code and what's the bad one? So having coded for like 10 years, what's good right now? Like, good is relative, right? So what's good is someone that follows good object-oriented principles. And for example, if your code has a method that's longer than like 5 to 10 lines, then it's not all that great. Any tutorials on unit testing? Probably not. Have you ever used any kind of machine learning in an iOS app? There's this Watson API that kind of did machine learning, but that was my student's project. So, what do you think Firebase is built on? So it's built on a NoSQL database, probably off Node or something, or maybe off Google Go. Yeah, I don't know what it's built off of. Regarding Firebase, I found a good tutorial to watch. The Firebase channel Firecasts. Was it? Yeah, the Google guys have a really good series on their Firebase technology. So make sure to watch that. Is Firebase your backend of choice for iOS? No, it is not. And the reason is because I can build out my own database, which allows me to, perform like analytics, how many users are coming in and what they're doing. So Firebase has that support as well, which makes it a really, really good solution. So, Firebase is really, really good. But if you can build your own solution, it's nice to be able to build it. Anyone has Firebase iOS complete project, especially regarding media? Please share. Yeah. Damn, you rattled off that list very quickly. So working full time is so amazingly comfortable. You just wake up, right? Wake up at 8 o'clock, get ready, drive to work, get there at 9 to 9:30. Because you're an engineer, obviously you get to work a little later. And then you just program. For the first hour of your day, you just get the coffee that they serve at work in the fancy office kitchen. Grab the coffee from this fancy coffee machine. Whether you want a double shot espresso or some kind of hot chocolate, you just press the button. You get your coffee, add some creamer. You just sit there and chat with your buddies there at work for like a half hour when you get to the office. And then you finally sit down in front of your computer, check on email. And email takes about half an hour to an hour to clear out. And then there goes, roughly 2 hours of your morning. And then you can go to lunch afterwards, and then you come back, and then you start working at about 1 o'clock. So I've had so many of those days that I can't even count anymore. Or the morning is just morning stand-up, and then a brief meeting with what has gone wrong for the day, and then emails that you have to fix, and then like breakfast at work. Then you go and you have your lunch. So you get paid for just being there, really. Which I know it sounds bad, but you just talk to so many people, not even just engineers, but everyone in general. You go to the office and you don't do a whole lot of work. All right, we have 2 J's right here. 新年快乐. 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 I'm trying to sign up my users with only username that I can use. Please help. The username is only temporary. So that's not possible with Firebase. Hello from Belarus. All right. Belarus. Started learning with your tutorial and I got a job. Thank you, Brian. I also try to give back to community like you. Take care. All right, Tolga. Very good stuff. Yeah, so I've gotten a lot of people saying that, after watching these video tutorials, they've gotten a job in the iOS field. So very, very nice to have a positive impact on people, right? Obviously, the video content is not, the major catalyst for you getting a job, but it's good to have helped or have contributed to someone else's success. So good, yeah, good to hear. Alex Klein, what about recursions for the next fun algorithms? Recursion, huh? The thing about recursion is like people don't understand recursion so well. If I can if I can teach people recursion in one 10-minute video, that would be pretty kick-ass. Let's see if I can do it next Friday. Like come up with a good, easy, simple to understand recursion algorithm that's not like a factorial function, which I've done before already. Perhaps I'll be able to do it. What is your office setup besides your MacBook and camera? What else do you or professional iOS developers use? The most important thing that I have that I don't have now. So right now I have my laptop, my phone, my GH4 camera, and then there's this lighting setup, right, which is not a developer thing. So let's see, what do I need that's really, really important that I don't have right now is a huge LCD monitor, and then I need a mouse, and then I need a full-size keyboard. Other than that, I don't really need a whole lot. And this means that if I ever wanted to work outside of the United States, I can just bring my laptop, which comes with a keyboard and touchpad, right? And the only thing I'm missing is a big monitor, which I can purchase for like $100 or so outside of the States, which, means you can work remotely if you really wanted to. And ultimately, that's kind of the goal that I want to have. I want to be able to just work wherever I want to go. We'll see how far I can get before I go back into the full-time world. All right, nobody cares what you think. Just make some iOS app videos. So I guess that's from Effie. Shut up, we don't care. I guess that's a strange way of joining this channel to not care about what I have to say. All right. Any advice for people starting their career in iOS in their late 30s? I think starting your programming career later in your late 20s or early 30s is tricky in some ways, because you'll find that a lot of programmers, especially iOS programmers, are somewhat younger, and you might feel a certain it might feel awkward if you're a little older, but other than that, it's just the same. You're there to be productive, and you're there to learn, and don't let your age be a hurdle or an obstacle that prevents you from contributing to that particular company. But it's just the same as any other industry that you're trying to switch into. Yeah. All right. Have you ever considered joining a startup as a co-founder? Probably not. I don't really like. Yeah. I think joining someone else's startup, joining someone else's idea is difficult, because if you don't have that same passion as that person has, you are not going to meet his expectations a lot of the time. Yeah. All right. Let's see, a tech question here. What mic do you use for the videos here? I basically use this. I guess maybe I can finally show you guys the setup here. So this is the exact same setup that I use for my video recordings. This right here is called an H1 Zoom. It's basically an external recorder that allows me this connection to my lapel right here. which is this mic right here. This is the cheapest lapel that you can find for $15 on Amazon. And then what do we have? So basically this records directly into the laptop right here. So everything's all dangling everywhere, but the laptop takes in the audio, and then I process the audio inside of Adobe Audition, which gets the audio levels a little bit better. Yeah. Okay. FE, the rage is real. So one thing that I've been thinking about in terms of the rage on the internet these days is just in general, society is currently, so because everything is on the internet nowadays, and people are just really angry on the internet for some reason, just in general, there's this negative impression that people are getting from everyone, right? Because anonymity really, for some reason, anonymity enables people to be as cruel and as mean to others on the internet. And that's a huge problem, right? If you think about it, why are people lashing out so offensively on the internet? Like, why? I think the reason is because in this politically correct culture that we have outside of the internet, right? So we're in the real world. We have to be extremely conservative in terms of what we're saying to other people, that we're not really showing our true feelings. And because of this new way of living out there in the real world, whenever we can escape back home into the safe confines of the internet and the computer, the little screen that we look at, we let our true selves kind of show through in the little window box. And that's this sort of the different parallels that we have in real life and then the virtual world. And the virtual world is very real itself. All our identities right now live on the virtual world. And I think it's not where we want to be right now. I don't like the direction that we're heading in. Because like I recently got this really awful comment on my channel that I responded to a couple of times, and it's basically about like Google searching who I am, right? And I feel like just people in general are very quick to react negatively online, and you know I've also contributed to this problem. So I feel like there's just too much negativity which exists on the comments section of someone's post. Yeah, I guess I'll end on that. Okay. We have 新年快乐 greetings from Wuhan University. All right. And we have 喷子 is everywhere. Is that 喷子? I haven't exactly heard of this term before. 就是喜欢喷水的那种喷嘛. Okay, thanks for your video series. Coming to the iOS dev world from Android. Some other channels don't put it as well as you do. Cool. Okay, Ruslan from Osipov. Hello, Happy New Year's. I have a question about your way to make constraints. I cannot get a frame of this view. I cannot add a bottom border to, for example, by count init frame. Any suggestions? So you just follow the Twitter series. You can use the constraint method called pretty easily. Just makes a lot of sense. Yeah, what things do you suggest in order to inspire your team members to work hard? Work really hard yourself. Your team members should be inspired to follow suit. Yeah, working hard is not for everyone, is what I've realized in the last couple of years. All right, so we have Makita. What about testing? Unit testing. It seems like every job has it as a requirement, but no devs really care about it. Am I wrong? How do you do testing usually? So you are not wrong. All jobs will say that they require unit testing, and you'll find that most developers really do not like to do unit testing, especially for iOS because it's a UI focused app. And the reason why it's a lot of developers don't like it is because it's so difficult to test UI that most of the time it's just not worth it. I mean, Apple came out with the UI testing framework, but it's still extremely difficult to perform UI testing properly. If you're coming from the Java world, right, where you're just testing your dependencies of a certain program, things are very straightforward where you mock out your objects and then you set expectations, you do your asserts. If you're testing your iOS app and the components that are easily testable, you should always set up the testing to test your program. But when you're talking about UI, like how do you test the fifth collection view row if it's being rendered properly? It's difficult to do that. Okay, why did you decide to go into software engineering rather than pure computer science areas such as research? Mostly because I'm a horrible student. I'm not a very good student, so for students to get really good grades means that they are really good at understanding theory from a professor. That's just how college works. I am a person that doesn't respond very well to theory. If I can't see a real use case for a certain algorithm or a certain problem, then my brain just zones out and I can't understand what the heck someone's trying to teach me. So that's why this channel, right? You see this channel, the way that it's structured, everything has an example in your face. Like, it's right there in the corner. You have to see it, and then that gives you context, and then you build it out. If you don't see this stupid screen and like exactly what you're trying to build, then I hate the style of teaching where some guy's like, oh yeah, here's a theory that is perfect for determining the search queries and what the pattern of searching is, and this is how you will implement it. If they don't give me the actual search patterns and the query structuring and how everything looks like, I can't understand it. So that's how I work, and that's why I don't do research. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? I don't know. Perhaps I'll be a millionaire and give talks at a conference about iOS and mobile development. That's my dream. Greetings from southern Germany. Hello. What do you think about implementing a Rust library in macOS development through a C bridge as of now? So I haven't had the luxury of working on the Rust, but I hear it's a really good programming language to work on. James. We have James. Hello, James. Happy New Year. Share your idea for programming UI. The thing is that I found the NS layout constraint framework very hard to implement. That's probably, I decided not to use it at all and stick with frame-based layout. That was my tool for UI until I saw your tutorial using layout anchor. I switched to that in one day, and it's extremely easy to implement. The question is, do you see any downside to using this framework at this point or in the near future? So James right here, Mr. Racha Brun, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. So James is a student of my boot camp that I taught in last March, April. Very, very good student. One of the best. So, and I'm not sure what James is doing right now, but he's probably working on some iOS app. I read your Medium article about what was the article about? Differences between Swift and Objective-C probably, or 15 things that an Objective or a Swift programmer needs to know. Whatever it was, right? It was really good. I really liked it. And he's referring, so the thing that he's referring to is that, so James used to use frames to lay out everything in his UI. And if you're using frames, right, what happens is that you calculate everything based on how wide your screen is right here. And you take the width and then you subtract some pixels and then you set the XY width and height of your layout frames. So all of this works pretty well and it's not too difficult as long as you can follow the math. So what happens is for people that can't follow your math logic, they have to understand all these calculations to figure out where things are going to lay out. And if they want to modify it, they have to adjust the calculations appropriately. And that right there is a lot of work for someone else looking at your code. And then we have these layout constraint anchors now, which just says, okay, 5 pixels from the left edge, 10 pixels from the top, 20 pixels from the bottom, and then expand it to how long the width of the screen is. So that type of thinking is kind of universal, which makes it really easy to maintain. The layout anchor method that I have shown you guys in that Twitter series makes it so that you can do everything in one call, which is extremely helpful, and I use it in production. So the only downside of using the layout anchor method that I've given you guys is that not everyone uses that. So you'll find people that use their own layout method, and they're not going to like that method that I have for you guys. And so they think that they're probably going to have a better way of doing it themselves. So that's the only downside. So how do you plan in advance the UI for all resolutions? I found it nerve-wracking. So all you have to do is use layout anchors and your code should work out for different resolution sizes. What are monitors used for encoding? Is it mainly for designing UI or something? So for me, having a monitor, a really large monitor, the benefits come into play when I need to do research on a Chrome browser on the left side. I have my editor here, Xcode is here, my other software IDEs are here, and then I have a couple of Chrome browsers on the other side. So being able to look at the research, implement the code, run it on a simulator somewhere else, that's really helpful in terms of having a productive workflow. Okay, do you earn anything from YouTube channel? Yeah. So, every day there's a couple of dollars that come in based off ad revenue. So that helps out. And then we have the website course that you can also purchase to support whatever we're doing here. I'm doing a master's degree in software engineering in Wuhan University. Is there any chance to get a software engineering job in the USA? You have to get a visa to work here in the United States, which is pretty difficult these days considering the new turn of events that we have in terms of trying to get into the United States. Okay, horrible students are the best teachers. That's a interesting statement right there. Horrible students are the best teachers. That sounds wrong in so many ways, but it's so true in so many other ways. Yeah. I have to quote this. I have to write this down. This is a really good statement right here. Horrible students are the best teachers. I like that. So, okay. Taken down. How often do you Google things in everyday coding process? Probably every day. Most of my solutions come off of Stack Overflow. What books would you recommend or for programming? So, as you guys know, I'm on that Ray Wenderlich website, right? So, do you guys know that? I don't know if you guys know that yet. So, what is this right here? Let's see. RayWenderlich.com. Gradview Android. Let me just search this tutorial right here. Okay. Now what do I want to do here is show this little screen guy. If I can change this to something else, let's see. Chrome. Okay, what does this do? Okay, so we have that. And let's see, can I make myself go away? So I know this is horrible for the live stream, but just want to show myself here. Okay, so we have that. Let's see, let's bring this guy up here and bring this guy right here. Okay, so back to the question at hand here. What books would you recommend for programming, right? So this website here called raywenderlich.com, they have a ton of really good books, right? A lot of you guys that are wondering how you can learn iOS programming, definitely check out this website and check out their books as well. It's in the store section. And also you'll find me right here with this Android grid view tutorial. That's me down there. And to learn how to create a grid that looks like this, turn it into something that looks more like this right here, and something that looks like this. You can follow this tutorial. It's easy enough so that you can learn it if you don't have any idea how to use Java. And basically check this out right here if you want to understand how to use Android grid view. Very similar to how collection view works, I guess. And if you go to the store right here, maybe Ray can hook me up with some of this, the affiliate that I'm giving him. So, developer guide, new to Swift, learn more, raywenderlich.com. You get the video subscription. Really helpful. You can buy these books for $54.99. Swift Apprentice. I'm not exactly sure what the difference between the two is, but if you can purchase both of them, probably go ahead and do so. Yeah. So that's Ray's site. And then we have, yeah, so that's that. Let's see if I close this out. Okay. And we're back. So let's see. What can I do here? How big can I make myself here? Okay. Okay, so we are back. Okay. Best book is Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy. That's a good book indeed. So we have Happy Chinese New Year for thanks for your videos. We have Zhenmin, Ni Zhengmin. Difference between a computer science degree and a software engineering degree, not very much. Happy Chinese New Year. How to implement swipe to delete like thing with collection view. Well, it doesn't really come for free, I don't think. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't really swipe to delete, but it's not that hard to implement in your collection views cell if you do it properly. There's also a couple of tutorials on doing this delete thing online. I know there is something called cartography in CocoaPods, which helps to add constraints programmatically without using storyboards. Can you make a small tutorial out of it to show us? It's called cartography. So probably not, because that layout anchor method that I have is like super simple. I don't think you need anything else other than that, but perhaps I'll look at what cartography is. What do you think about Trump's ban on Muslim? I think the guy is pretty crazy, but we'll see. How about a paid course on complete UI components via programmatic approach with varying scope of its usage? I think that will be helpful for us developers following your tutorials. So that basic training course that I have on my website, it goes through a lot of components like UI table view, UI collection view, how to present, how to do other things. but definitely does not go through everything that is available through UIKit. Is it so hard to get a job, for example, junior programming in US, Europe? What's really I need to have? Getting a job as a junior programmer really just requires you to have a good portfolio. So make sure you have exciting apps on your your website. Like build a good website, and then make sure your apps look nice, which means you should hire a designer to build out your UI, and then you should be okay. What do you recommend for stable backend? I have been using Parse and also looking into Firebase for my clients. I'm a recent graduate. Thank you very much for what you are doing. It is really helpful. Stable backend. If you can use Firebase, you should definitely go ahead and do that. If you can use Parse, that's fine too. Yeah, and then when you guys need to expand into a more customizable database, you guys can use something else like MySQL off of a server on EC2. It does take a little bit more work to set up your own server though. Okay, so we have a huge fan from Poland. What do you think about MVVM? Again, MVVM. Let's see, hello from Germany, Serbia. Let's see, cool. A lot of people from a lot of different international countries. I've been working on a personal project, and after a while, I keep seeing things that need improving and could be better. How do I remain focused and set proper goals on my project? So there's always going to be a better way to clean up your code, and you just got to make sure you stay productive. Did you read the whole Apple documentation? Whenever I need to build a new feature that I don't understand, I will figure out how it works through the Apple documentation and then also through Stack Overflow. Ray Wonderlick has a 100% refund for their ebooks for 30 days. I also really like that they keep it up to date, given how much Apple changes their frameworks between Swift versions. Yeah, they release Swift or free updates to their books, or they did it this year. I feel like they're going to do it next year as well when Swift 4 comes out. So when you purchase their books, you can pretty much be guaranteed that they'll stay up to date with their logic. The Swift syntax, that is. All right, when starting a new app, do you start with UI or make things work first, business logic, and then go for a visual part? When building out a new app, I will typically build out the list view for the thing, and then I'll build out the database layer probably. I don't know. It really depends. Haroon, Happy New Year to you too. So we have Jonathan. How long did it take to get your very first programming job? I heard networking is a big deal these days. It really depends on how the market is looking for wherever you're located. For me, it wasn't that hard to find a programming job because I was lucky in interviewing at a place that had a very, very nice senior lead developer. And we had a really good relationship as well, where we had lunch almost every day. Hung out at his house with his wife and kids, and that was how I got lucky and got my very first job. And I also applied for a ton of other jobs, which didn't respond back to my applications. So there's that. It definitely helps to have graduated from a well-known college. So I had that advantage that helped me out a lot. I remember going into the interview and asked the CEO of the company what exactly he was looking for in terms of a new hire. And he said just straight up, like, if I didn't graduate from that college that I graduated from, he wouldn't even have given me the chance to enter that interview room. So as much as I don't like the fact that college is so emphasized as the holy grail of being successful, it helped me out a lot, which is just how things work in life. What's the best way to comment your code? I mean, is it better to comment before you write or later? In all of your tutorials, you comment right away. What's the best way to catch that routine? So commenting is something that is kind of, it's a little gray area. If you can comment your code without commenting your code, that's the best practice. So what I mean is, if all your methods just make sense and sound like it makes sense, right? When you say it out loud, it's all logical, then you shouldn't comment your code at all. If you're implementing some tricky algorithm that parses a string into, certain fancy other components, string components, then you have to comment out what the heck you're doing. So that's how commenting works. If it's something that's non-standard, you have to comment. Do you design your own UI? What do you use? I do not design my own UI. As you can tell, the UI is all stolen from the apps that are already on the App Store. Is 15 too late of an age to start coding? I started coding when I was about 16 or 17, so don't think it was too late for me. Probably not too late for you. Do you have recommendations on hiring designers, websites that contract them? How do you determine good designers? I don't think I have a very good history of hiring good designers. Typically, I like the designers that produce nice designs and basically UI that is up to date with what the current standards are, and they follow the patterns that are being implemented in today's applications. If they don't, if the designs don't match what, like if you're still using a drop down in an iOS app, then you're probably a little behind the times there. I think you have potential more than the name of the college. So yeah, I mean, now looking back, it's like college is just a name, but 10 years ago it was super important. That's ironica. Okay. So let's see, what else do we have here? All right, so seeing as how the chat window is just, I think everyone is probably ready to check out for the day, right? Okay, last couple of questions before we check out. What good places to start learning iOS coding? This channel is pretty good. Ray Wonderlick's website is also pretty good. And the future courses that are released are also going to be decent, I hope. Do you have any issues with slow compilation time in Xcode when building a large project? Usually as you integrate more and more pods inside of your project, then it takes a lot longer. If your code is if you have long, huge storyboards, then it probably takes your app a lot longer to compile as well. All right, will there be any web dev tutorials in the future? Maybe. Yeah, I just don't want to spam everyone that's iOS oriented on this channel with things that they don't care about. So we'll see where that content lives on in the future there. All right, so seeing as how the stream has gone on for an hour and 43 minutes right now, we're going to end today's very, very festive chat live stream by just wishing everyone here a happy Chinese New Year. And I think this new year, right, is a good start for everyone, just like any other new year. So be safe and set your goals and try to meet your goals. Be realistic about them. Don't try to do things that are out of your control, and stay consistent with the approaches that you have. And also try to experiment with different things that you think that you might not be able to do. You'll find that 99% of the things that you want to achieve in life is attainable as long as you just give it a try, push yourself a little harder each time you don't succeed. Don't see it as a failure. Make sure to learn from every new thing you attempt, and failure is just one step in the path that you take to achieve success. Remember that. Failure is not failure. It's just one step closer to achieving success. That's how I see it. And every time I release a new video on this channel is just one step closer into learning how to do it better and how to respond to you guys better and making sure everyone gets what they need from the channel. So hopefully we'll see a lot more videos on this channel for the near future, and hopefully you guys will enjoy the material coming from the brain of the channel. All right. Happy New Year's and enjoy yourselves. Bye, guys.